Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And yes, all good things must come to an end. And with this 47th video, we are done with Haydn. Wow. I think there's the most Haydn. I don't know if I have more. I may have more Beethoven. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But there's a lot of Haydn. Goodness gracious, I collected a lot of Haydn over the years. I'm really rather proud of that because there's just so much fabulous music. So much remains unknown. And this is our last pile. And it has some real gems, a typically eclectic mix of goodies. We have first Four Divertimenti with the Linde Consort under Hans Martin Linde. His Cassation, Hoboken 2, number 20. The Birthday Divertimento. How many people know that? And a couple other Cassations. And they're delightful. And large works. I mean, 20 minutes, 18 minutes. They're not minuscule pieces of musical frippery. Not a bit. They're well worth listening to. This was on Virgin Veritas. Wow, remember that? Remember Virgin? It was a record label. It got sucked up by EMI, who got sucked up by Warner, and who knows who's going to suck up Warner. And then we've got Haydn Symphonies with Fritz Reiner. This was the Fritz Reiner mid-price RCA Victor Gold Seal collection. Symphonies 101, 95, and 88. Fritz Reiner and his symphony orchestra. It's not even with Chicago in 1963, and 1960 for number 88 with Chicago. Now, I must confess, I have never been a huge fan of Fritz Reiner's Haydn. I think it's rather unsmiling. Reiner was unsmiling. He was, but aside from not smiling, I don't think he was into the instrumental splendor of these pieces as much as other conductors have been. And, they're not bad. They're not bad at all, but let's not kid ourselves. He was not a Haydn guy. The reason I really hang on to this is because this performance of number 88 was the one that turned me on to Haydn and number 88 when I was a kid. And it was this recording. Actually, the original coupling was Mozart's Jupiter Symphony, a really fast performance that I really love. And it was only later that I found out that someone told me that the tempos were all wrong and it was too quick and all that. I still like it. But the Haydn really blew me away. And what blew me away was the trio of the minuet. And actually, this is one of the more colorless recordings of it, but it still blew me away because I'd never heard it before. And I thought it was amazing. The person who owned it was my grandmother, my late grandmother, my mother's mother, who had a heart condition and only lived to be 58. And when I was like 10, 11 or 12, I guess it was about 12, she had to move to a new home, one without stairs. Because she couldn't get up and down the stairs. Her heart was too weak. And we moved her. We showed up in Wilmington, Delaware, whence I was born. And, we packed up her house and we moved her to a house where everything was on one level. And she passed away fairly shortly thereafter. But in any case, she had a record collection. And the record collection had a bunch of classical pieces, including this. And she had those big Reader's Digest boxes, that had the greatest classical masterpieces. One was like serious stuff and one was like light music. And they were wonderful. And she also had the Reiner Pines and Fountains of Rome. And she basically gave me all of her records. She said to me, and I told her I listened to these things and enjoyed them. And she said, just take them, take whatever you want. And that is how I heard Haydn's 88th Symphony, and I remember it like it was yesterday. So thank you, Grandma. Lee Goldberg. If it weren't for you, none of this would be here. We would not be on video number 47 in Random Reviews from the Overflow room. No, we wouldn't. So, it was, I have happy memories, very happy memories. And then we've got numbers 88, 89, and 92 with the Vienna Phil and Karl Böhm. I wish Böhm had done more Haydn, actually, because he was a Mozart guy. and he did tons of Mozart, but his recording of the seasons is delightful. And these Haydn symphonies are very, very good. And nobody did 89 back in those days. So it was great to get a recording of 89 with the Vienna Philharmonic of all groups. I think Böhm could have done quite a bit. He was also not one known for his sense of humor, but there was real musicality there. And he understood the classical style. And, so there that was. That's a DG cheapy. That was like super duper budget, like Music Fest. Remember Music Fest? Yes, it was a music fest. Oh, yeah. Then we've got another Cecilia Mass, the Missa Chilensis, which is like, the big, long, huge one, 75 minutes long in this performance. And the Mass in the Time of War, and the Little Organ Mass. Oh, what fun. So the St. Cecilia Mass, or Missa Chilensis, which is, I think, what it's more properly called, is with Eugen Joachim. And his group, Bavarian Radio Group, he always did wonderful choral music with this ensemble. And Haydn and Joachim went well together. Joachim did have a sense of humor, although this is not exactly a ha-ha opportunity, this particular Mass. Then you've got the Mass in the Time of War with Kubelik and the same Bavarian folks, with really good soloists, by the way. You've got Maria Stadter and Marga Höfgen and Richard Holm and Joseph Greindl and Elsie Morrison, who was Mrs. Kubelik, and Marjorie Thomas and Peter Witsch and Carl Christian Kuhn, and this is the version, with the extra wind parts, by the way. So, which Haydn didn't write. His pupil, Sigiswald Neukomm, I think was his name, did them. It's better in Haydn's original, I think, but that's okay. And we've got, let's see, what else have we got? The Little Organ Mass. Oh, it's adorable. Yes, right there. The Little Organ Mass is one of those Missa Brevis pieces. It has a little organ solo, but it's also got another one of those, 1.5 minute Glorias where everybody sings a separate line simultaneously, and it's hilariously charming. Haydn String Quartets, Opus 74, with the Kotzian Quartet. Well, isn't this nice? I mean, lovely performances that nobody paid any attention to when they came out on Praga Digitals, but I have kept them as a wonderful keepsake of a fine ensemble. Who's this guy? Oh, look, it's more Joachim. Symphonies 88, 91, and 93. Well, 93 is the London Philharmonic. 88 is with the Berlin Phil, and the other one, 91, is with Bavarian Radio. And again, Joachim was a fantastic Haydn conductor. He did all the London symphonies with the London Phil. He did 4 of them with the Staatskapelle Dresden, which is just insanely sensational, as those of you who listened to me when I talked about him a couple of videos ago and went and heard them confirm for yourselves. Beautiful performances, lovely, fabulous, delightful, musical, inspirational performances. Joachim was like that. Haydn concertos for trumpet, horn, and cello. So we've got Rostropovich doing the cello concerto in C, which is really a wonderful work. That's his first cello concerto. It was only discovered in the 1950s, rediscovered actually. And it's generally considered to be better than his second one in D major, but it actually on period instruments, I think, with a little bit more freshening up, they both turned out to be much livelier and enjoyable than we used to think. And then we've got, that's with the English Chamber Orchestra and Benjamin Britten, and 2 horn concertos, which may or may not actually be by Haydn. I think they are, actually, in this case. And then his trumpet concerto, Alan Stringer, trumpet, Barry Tuckwell, horn. The trumpet concerto is so amazing. My God. That's with Neville Mariner. It's got the most amazing tune in the last movement, right? Da 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 ba ba da 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 ba ba da 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 ba da 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 da. I mean, on a trumpet. Incredible. Fabulously beautiful. Then we've got Zoltan Koczis' Haydn sonatas and other goodies. Hungariton. Wonderful performances. You also get his Capriccio in G major and the variations in E major, which are not well known at all, and a whole pile of sonatas, including number 33, which is the big C minor sonata. These are all middle period Haydn sonatas not necessarily the most famous ones. And they are beautifully done. And Kochis was such a great pianist. Oh, I wish he'd done more as well. What a nice memento. 2 discs worth on Hungariton. Then some strange Esterhazy cantatas. This was quite a find when these came out. You get Symphony Number 12, but other than that, it's Andreas Sperring with his Capella Coloniensis and the vocal ensemble Kuhn on Harmonia Mundi. Now these are yay, our Lord is back at home, and oh boy, isn't this exciting? He had yogurt for breakfast, and tribute cantatas, those kinds of things. But they're delightful, and nobody knew they existed. And a couple of these are big works. Destatevi o me fidi is 18 minutes long, and Qual dubio ormai is 16 minutes long. So, All tuo arrivo felice is only 9 minutes. At your happy arrival. Fortunately, Haydn knew how to get that over with Sunhei Im soprano and Johanna Stojkovic soprano and Max Cholik, yes, tenor. Delightful stuff. Nicholas Kramer is the conductor of the symphony. Andreas Sperring is doing the cantatas. That's a real rarity. And last but not least, our final Haydn from the Overflow room. Oh, sentimental feelings I have. Here you go. Vladimir Horowitz's Haydn Sonata recordings for Columbia, a.k.a. Sony. Sonatas in F major, C major, which is really right up his alley, especially that finale, and E flat major. Lovely, lovely performances. I mean, Horowitz was really good at this stuff. He had a certain impish sense of humor, which worked really well in Haydn, as it did in Scarlatti and Clementi, where you've got some Clementi highlights here. And that, my friends, does it for Haydn. I'm really proud of you for sticking with me, and keep on listening. Thanks for joining me. Take care.